The husband, who showed no remorse after killing his wife and 6-year-old daughter. Throughout history and across headlines, we come across chilling stories of crimes that leave us speechless, especially when they involve those closest to the victim. Few things send shockwaves like murder, and when the crime involves a spouse taking the life of their partner, it becomes almost unimaginable. One such unsettling case is the tragic tale of Jennifer and Abby Blagg, where the central figure in this devastating story was none other than Jennifer's own husband, Michael Blagg. But what exactly happened to Jennifer and her young daughter, Abby? How did they suddenly vanish? And most importantly, how was Michael Blagg connected to their disappearance? Stay with us as we delve into this harrowing case, uncovering disturbing details that left a nation in disbelief. Jennifer's roots lay in Oklahoma, where she was raised in a humble environment by her single mother alongside her brother David. Despite the challenges, Jennifer's upbringing was warm, and she carried a joyful spirit throughout her childhood. After graduating high school, she pursued higher education in business at San Diego National University. Those who knew her described Jennifer as kind-hearted and deeply compassionate. A core part of Jennifer's identity was her unwavering faith. When thinking about her future, especially in terms of marriage, her primary desire was to find a devout Christian man, someone who shared her values. Yet, fate had different plans for Jennifer, and the man she would ultimately marry turned out to be very far from her ideal. In 1988, Jennifer crossed paths with 25-year-old Michael Blagg at a social event. At the time, Michael was serving as a helicopter pilot in the U.S. Navy, stationed in San Diego. His upbringing had been shaped by constant relocation, as his father, a colonel in the Air Force, frequently moved the family around. Michael was known for his exceptional intelligence and disciplined nature from a young age. His academic achievements were nothing short of impressive. He consistently earned top marks and excelled in extracurriculars. In fact, he was so bright that he was selected for the prestigious Governor's Honors Program and later attended Georgia Tech to study nuclear engineering. To finance his education and further his career, Michael enlisted in the Navy, where he continued to push himself toward success. Jennifer was instantly captivated by Michael because he seemed to share her deep devotion to faith. As they spent more time together, she became convinced that Michael embodied the qualities of a family man, someone who could provide stability and a loving home for her and their future children. In 1991, the couple tied the knot. For Jennifer, it was her first time walking down the aisle, while Michael had already experienced a brief marriage that ended after just a year. After leaving the Navy, Michael transitioned into a civilian career as an engineer. The Blagg family eventually settled in Simpsonville, South Carolina, where they welcomed their daughter Abby into the world. Jennifer thrived in her role as a mother and found a sense of community in Simpsonville, particularly through their church, where she became involved in teaching a women's Bible study group. Michael also took an active role in the church, becoming a co-teacher at the Bible school. Jennifer admired his leadership and protective nature, which initially made her feel secure. Yet, some of her friends noticed subtle signs that suggested things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Jennifer would sometimes appear anxious, especially as the time approached for Michael to return home from work. Her attention to keeping the house spotless seemed more than just a desire for neatness. It felt like she was preparing for his approval. Despite these small cracks beneath the surface, the Blagg family gave the impression of happiness, and Jennifer often expressed how much she enjoyed living in Simpsonville. However, life took a sudden turn when Michael accepted a new position as an operations manager at a manufacturing plant in Grand Junction, Colorado. Jennifer was reluctant to leave the comfort of her routine and the tight-knit community she had grown fond of in South Carolina, but she chose to follow Michael, feeling it was her duty as a supportive wife. Unfortunately, after relocating to Grand Junction, a shift in Jennifer's demeanor became noticeable. She no longer seemed to radiate the same joy, and those close to her could sense that something was amiss in her personal life. By 2001, the Blagg family had settled into their new home in Colorado. Jennifer was 34, and Abby, their vibrant young daughter, was just 6 years old. However, only a few months after the move, an event unfolded that would leave the Grand Junction community reeling. On the morning of November 13th, 2001, Michael Blagg left for work, marking the beginning of a day that would soon spiral into tragedy. Michael's daily routine was predictable. He would leave for work early in the morning and return home in the evening. True to his protective nature, he habitually checked in with Jennifer multiple times during the day to ensure that she and Abby were safe. But on this particular day, things took an unusual turn. Shortly after arriving at his office, Michael dialed home, expecting Jennifer to pick up as she always did. This time, however, there was no answer. Initially, Michael thought little of it, assuming Jennifer might be busy. He waited for her to return his call, but after some time passed, without hearing from her, he grew uneasy. He called home again. Still no response. Concern began to gnaw at him. Leaving a voicemail, Michael said, "Hey, where are you guys? Hope everything's all right. I love you." Hours passed, and still no word from Jennifer or Abby. Feeling increasingly alarmed, Michael decided to leave work early and check on his family. The moment he walked through the front door, dread overtook him. He immediately called 911 to report that his wife and daughter were missing, and to add to the horror, he found blood in their master bedroom. The police quickly arrived at the Blagg home, and what they discovered inside the bedroom was deeply unsettling. There was a significant amount of blood pooled on the bed. A jewelry box had been overturned, and Jennifer's purse lay on the floor, its contents scattered across the room. What initially seemed like a potential kidnapping quickly took on a more sinister tone. The amount of blood present suggested that something far worse had occurred. The police began reconsidering their original theory. Typically, kidnappings don't involve this much bloodshed at the scene, and the location of the blood added to the confusion. It was confined to the bed. There were no signs of a struggle elsewhere in the house, no drag marks, and the hallway walls were spotless. These details pointed to something much darker than a simple abduction. Despite the mounting evidence that something horrific had taken place, Michael remained steadfast in his belief that Jennifer and Abby had been kidnapped and were still alive. He made public appeals, asking for help in locating his family, and even offered a $2,000 reward for any information that could lead to their safe return. The investigation soon centered around the Colorado River, as authorities suspected that the bodies of Jennifer and Abby might have been discarded in the area. While search teams scoured the riverbanks and nearby locations, forensic specialists meticulously combed through the Blagg home, hoping to uncover any evidence that could shed light on the mother and daughter's disappearance. Neighbors reported that the last time they saw Jennifer and Abby was the previous afternoon when Jennifer had picked up Abby from school. As the forensic team expanded their search, they made a disturbing discovery. Traces of blood were found inside the family's van. This discovery marked a significant shift in the investigation. Michael, who had been grieving for his missing wife and daughter, now became the prime suspect in what was rapidly becoming a double homicide case. During questioning, Michael insisted he had no knowledge of what had happened to Jennifer and Abby. He expressed disbelief, stating, "I can't imagine anyone having any ill will toward my family. Abby is a sweet little girl, and Jennifer didn't have enemies." Michael then provided investigators with a timeline of events leading up to the day his family vanished. According to Michael, the evening before the disappearance was fairly ordinary. Abby had gone to bed at her usual time, around 7 p.m., while Jennifer and Michael stayed up a bit longer, as was their habit. Around 8 p.m., Jennifer received a phone call from a friend inviting her to lunch the following day, to which she agreed. Afterward, both she and Michael went to bed together around 10 p.m. Michael's account of November 13th started at 5:30 a.m. when he woke up to head to work. Jennifer and Abby were still sleeping, as their usual wake-up time was closer to 6:30 a.m. As part of his routine, Michael mentioned that he called Jennifer several times throughout the day to check in, but on this particular day, she never answered. At first, he thought little of it, assuming she was busy. However, as the hours ticked by, his concern grew. That's when he decided to leave work early and head home, where he discovered both Jennifer and Abby missing. There was an eerie detail that investigators uncovered. Someone had known in advance that November 13th would be no ordinary day for Jennifer and Abby. On November 12th, the school received a call notifying them that Abby would be absent the next day. Although the caller's identity remained unknown, the school had a record of the message, which now stood as a puzzling clue. Further deepening the mystery, investigators discovered several voice messages Michael had left for Jennifer. In one of them, he affectionately said, "Hello, my beautiful bride. I hope you're out there doing all sorts of fun and exciting things." These notes, seemingly innocent, took on a more unsettling tone as the investigation progressed. Michael continued to uphold his religious persona during his interactions with the authorities and the media. "Through the strength of the Holy Spirit, I am able to stand here before you," he said. "Every part of me wants to scream, shout, and grab the person responsible and tear them apart. We're talking about the two most important people in my life who are missing." Despite these passionate declarations, as the investigation progressed, law enforcement grew increasingly suspicious that Michael was involved in Jennifer and Abby's disappearance. Michael, however, vehemently denied any wrongdoing. He even began publicly criticizing the police for considering him a suspect, stating that it was hurtful to be under scrutiny when he had just lost his family. Just a month after Jennifer and Abby went missing, Michael moved out of the family home, claiming that it had become unbearable for him to stay in the house where his wife and daughter had lived. While the investigation continued, Michael kept a steady presence in the media, frequently sharing his belief that a botched burglary was the cause of the tragedy. "I have great hope that we'll uncover something. Someone out there knows what happened," he said in one interview. He admitted to feeling overwhelmed at times, but shared that his faith and Bible study brought him a sense of peace during the ordeal. In a gesture that tugged at public sympathy, Michael bought Christmas presents for Jennifer and Abby, expressing his hope that they would return soon to celebrate the holidays together. To many, Michael appeared to be a grieving husband and father, unfairly accused. However, some members of law enforcement and a few of Jennifer's friends were not convinced. They quietly suspected that Michael had played a role in his family's disappearance. Over time, as more evidence and witness testimony emerged, the suspicions surrounding Michael only grew stronger. Still, Michael insisted he was innocent. He maintained that there had been no arguments or conflicts with Jennifer in the days leading up to her and Abby's disappearance. As investigators continued to piece together the puzzle, they uncovered a handwritten note from Michael to Jennifer. In it, he apologized for letting the devil into their lives. While cryptic, this wasn't as shocking as what came next. During a search of the Blagg home, authorities discovered thousands of pornographic images on the family's computer. When questioned, Michael gave a bizarre explanation. He claimed that Jennifer had downloaded the material herself, insisting that it was for educational purposes because she wanted to improve as a wife and better serve him. Investigators also spoke to one of Jennifer's close friends, Eddie Melson, who shared some unsettling details. Shortly before Jennifer and Abby disappeared, Jennifer had called Eddie asking if she and Abby could come visit without Michael. This struck Eddie as highly unusual, as she knew the Blagg family always traveled together, and Jennifer rarely did anything without Michael by her side. Then, in February 2002, Michael was caught stealing a shredder and a table from his workplace. While this act of theft seemed odd on its own, what really raised eyebrows was Michael's behavior during his interrogation. Rather than focusing on the theft, he repeatedly asked investigators about the potential penalties for murder. This unusual line of questioning seemed out of place for a man whose wife and daughter had been missing for months. As suspicions mounted, the pressure on Michael increased. Investigators were determined to break through his facade, convinced that he held the key to the truth. Then one day, police arrived at Michael's home for questioning, but no one answered the door. They could hear the sound of running water inside the house, but received no response to their knocks. Fearing the worst, they forced entry. Inside the bathroom, they found Michael in the bathtub, his wrists slashed. He was lying next to a photograph of Jennifer and Abby, and beside him was a note proclaiming his innocence. "I didn't kill my wife or daughter." The officers acted quickly, rushing Michael to the hospital where he received medical care, saving his life. With the harsh Colorado winter setting in, the search for Jennifer and Abby had been temporarily suspended, resuming only in April when the snow had cleared. Investigators expanded their search to a 45-kilometer radius around the Blagg home, yet despite their efforts, no trace of the missing mother and daughter was found. Just as hope was dwindling, a breakthrough came. One of Michael's co-workers contacted the police with a crucial piece of information that reignited the investigation. On the day that Jennifer and Abby disappeared, Michael's co-workers noticed something unusual. Michael was seen taking out the trash at work, which wasn't part of his regular duties as an engineer. He was pushing a pallet jack loaded with 2 large cardboard boxes, heading toward the loading dock where the trash compactor was located. One of his colleagues, unaware of what might be inside the boxes, even offered to help. But rather than accepting the offer, as one might normally do, Michael quickly declined, insisting he had it under control. This refusal stood out as it was unusual for Michael to be handling such a task in the first place. This peculiar behavior became a significant lead for investigators, as they now believed these boxes could be key to finding out what happened to Jennifer and Abby. The focus of the investigation shifted to the landfill where the company's trash was disposed of. Tracking down the exact landfill was just the beginning of the challenge. The real difficulty lay in pinpointing the specific section where the trash from Michael's workplace had been dumped, a monumental task given the sheer volume of waste. When news of this development broke, one might expect a grieving husband to be relieved that progress was being made in finding his missing family. However, Michael did something entirely unexpected. He abruptly left the state. Even more suspicious was the fact that he didn't inform the police or anyone else of his plans or whereabouts. Nearly 7 months after Jennifer and Abby were reported missing, a breakthrough finally came. After weeks of combing through the landfill on June 5, 2002, investigators made a grim discovery. They found Jennifer Blagg's body wrapped in a red and black tarp. Once the body was carefully unwrapped and cleaned, the cause of death was confirmed by the autopsy. Jennifer had been shot in the left eye, with the bullet still lodged in her skull. The report also revealed another chilling detail. Jennifer had been killed while she was asleep. A retainer was found in her mouth, something she only wore at night, indicating that her life had been taken as she lay peacefully in bed. After the discovery of Jennifer Blagg's body, investigators were determined to find Abby as well, suspecting that her remains were likely in the same landfill. A fresh, more intensive search operation was launched despite their efforts, which involved meticulously sifting through around 7,000 tons of waste over the span of 7 weeks. Abby's body was never found. However, the focus of the investigation had now firmly shifted to Michael Blagg. The authorities were certain that he was responsible, but there was one major hurdle: Michael had disappeared. The police began tracking down possible locations where Michael might be hiding, eventually learning that his mother lived in Georgia. Suspecting that he might have fled there, they searched the property, and their hunch proved correct. Michael was found at his mother's house and promptly arrested. He was extradited back to Colorado to face charges for the murder of his wife and daughter. The public, shocked by the revelation, now learned that the man who had been presenting himself as a grieving husband and father was, in fact, the prime suspect in their death. During this time, Michael's first wife spoke to the media, claiming that he had been a normal, non-violent man during their marriage. However, as the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the Blagg household was far from perfect. Beneath the surface, Jennifer and Michael's marriage had been troubled from the start. They had frequent disagreements, and arguments were a regular occurrence. Jennifer quickly realized that the man she married wasn't as religious as she had hoped. Michael's frequent partying clashed with Jennifer's deeply held Christian values. Jennifer, uncomfortable with Michael's lifestyle, repeatedly asked him to give up his behavior, which she saw as immoral. Eventually, she issued an ultimatum. He had to choose between her and his destructive habit. Michael, for the time being, promised to change. Their relationship seemed to stabilize after Abby was born, but that stability was short-lived. Michael's demanding career in the Navy left Jennifer feeling isolated, and this lack of support, combined with the challenges of motherhood, led her to experience postpartum depression. Later, when Michael transitioned out of the Navy and took on a role teaching Sunday school, Jennifer discovered another disturbing side of him. The tension in their marriage continued to grow, setting the stage for the tragedy that was yet to come. Michael's inappropriate behavior extended beyond his personal life and into his professional one as well. He began making inappropriate comments to children, discussing sensitive topics like abortion and sexuality in ways that were deemed highly unprofessional. This led to his dismissal from his teaching role. The family, already struggling financially due to the unsold house from their previous move, took another hit when they lost over $8,000 in the process of selling it. Jennifer confided in friends back in Simpsonville, expressing her discontent with life in Grand Junction. However, despite her unhappiness, she often added that she was willing to stay because Michael seemed content with his job and she wanted to fulfill her role as a supportive wife. As the police dug deeper into Michael's possible motives, new information came to light. A worker from a local law firm told investigators that Jennifer had recently visited them, visibly upset, seeking legal counsel. It was later confirmed that Jennifer had been enduring abuse from Michael and had been contemplating divorce. A thorough investigation into Michael's personal life revealed further disturbing details. He had been a regular user of an escort service. When questioned about his activities, Michael admitted to visiting the massage parlors, but claimed Jennifer was fully aware of his visits. He justified them by saying they were for research purposes due to issues they were experiencing in their marriage. However, evidence from his computer revealed an addiction to explicit content, and further inquiries into his visits to the escort service uncovered that he frequently sought services beyond simple massages. As investigators continued to piece together the truth, it became evident that Michael's disturbing behavior wasn't limited to his own actions. He also pressured Jennifer into participating in these activities, forcing her to watch explicit material with him. Jennifer's personal writings, which were filled with religious devotion, showed a woman deeply struggling with her faith and her marriage. In one of her journals, she documented an argument with Michael, highlighting the deep strain their relationship was under. With the mounting evidence of Michael's abusive and controlling behavior, it became clear why Jennifer had been planning to leave him. It also explained why Michael might have felt desperate enough to kill his wife, to keep his dark secrets hidden and protect the life he had built. The tragic disappearance of Abby further indicated that Michael wasn't just trying to silence Jennifer, but also to eliminate any witnesses to his crime. Investigators believe that Abby might have witnessed her father murdering her mother, which led to her tragic death as well. Due to the lack of irrefutable evidence linking Michael Blagg directly to the killings of Jennifer and Abby, the prosecution opted not to pursue the death penalty. Instead, he was released on bond to reside with his mother while he awaited trial. In March 2004, Michael's trial commenced, where he faced charges of first-degree murder. The prosecution laid out its case, arguing that Michael had killed Jennifer after she expressed a desire for a divorce. They contended that he disposed of both her and Abby's bodies at his workplace, all while maintaining the facade of normalcy by calling home repeatedly and leaving voicemail messages that suggested he was oblivious to the events that had transpired. His actions led the police to initially treat the case as a potential home invasion. Jennifer's mother testified, recounting instances of abuse Michael inflicted upon her daughter during their marriage, including a disturbing episode where he choked Jennifer while intoxicated. In contrast, the defense team put forth a theory suggesting that an intruder had broken into the Blagg residence and killed both Jennifer and Abby when they resisted. Throughout the proceedings, Michael steadfastly proclaimed his innocence, insisting he had no involvement in the murders of his wife and daughter. On April 16, 2004, the jury delivered a guilty verdict, sentencing Michael to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. However, the case took an unexpected turn 10 years later when it was revealed that a juror had falsified their responses regarding a history of domestic violence on the juror questionnaire. This revelation prompted the court to overturn Michael's conviction and grant him a retrial. The Colorado Supreme Court intervened, allowing prosecutors to keep him incarcerated while preparations for the retrial were underway. The retrial commenced in February 2018, with Michael's legal team presenting new evidence in an effort to secure his acquittal. They also questioned the investigative techniques used in the original case. Despite these attempts, the jury once again found Michael Blagg guilty of the murders of Jennifer and Abby, imposing the same sentence as before, life imprisonment, concluding a tragic chapter in this harrowing case.